instructor here at 22 Squared. I've been here for about 2 years, and this was my first run at Tableau as well, so I've been using Tableau for about 2 years. I primarily work on SunTrust and Baskin-Robbins, and we are going to present to you some work we've done across clients about social media analytics, where Jon Cartwright has helped significantly build it out Tableau.
So let's start with the title, because I think I got a few laughs when this was mentioned internally. It wasn't serious when I sent it over as a possible title to my colleagues, but the next thing I knew, I got an email and it was in there. So I thought it required a little bit of explanation. Disparate score integration is just a way of saying we've got a lot of different scores for different metrics, and we want to bring them all together. Super-parity is similar, or a similarity between things, and those things are chaos systems. Social media platforms, at least that's how we think about them here. They're very unpredictable. We never really know what consumers are doing on them, so chaos systems seem like an appropriate moniker. Feel free to throw out questions about that if you have them.
So to set the stage for what we were trying to do here, in advertising, we obviously use social media a lot. I'm sure you all see the ads from many brands on your social feeds. And a lot of times, what you might be thinking or what a client might be thinking is just, how is social media performing? How's it driving my business? And it's a pretty simple question, but when you dig deep, especially in our world, it has a lot of variables and a lot of different metrics and things like that. So what you can see here is really, there's tons of social media platforms and they're massive. Facebook and Google are obviously two huge ones, but Facebook and the platforms don't necessarily like to play nice with each other. They don't offer up a way to pull all of their data in a streamlined way. They don't have the same metrics. They don't calculate the same metrics the same way. And we use them for a lot of different things. We're not, with a lot of advertising, you have a TV ad, you want people to know your brand. It's pretty much one objective. But when you think about social media, you've all inserted ads for a lot of different reasons. We want you to know the brand. We want you to watch a video. We want you to like something or share something with your friends. We want you to click on it and go to a website. Or maybe, especially with women out here, you see a piece of clothing and want you to shop now. So there's a lot of different things that we ask you to do with social media. It requires a lot of different KPIs and a lot of different metrics. And so our challenge is to roll all of these things up into one number and one system of answering the question, how is social media performing for my business? To show you how we've approached this and kind of where we're going to go as we dive into Tableau, we've used Tableau to integrate and streamline all of the different metrics and KPIs from all of these platforms into what we call a social score. So a very simplified number of if it's above 5, you're doing well. If it's below 5, you're not. Again, trying to get to that very simple answer of how is social media performing for my business. And we've used Tableau to create some visualizations like this that can help you look at how each platform is performing against all of those different objectives on a very comparable note, able to roll up to the total platform, but also able to, again, deep dive into why. And we're also able to use this sort of trend over time. So now I'll pass it to Jon. He's going to dive into what this looks like in Tableau and how we built it out, and also how we actually have calculated the score and made one number fit for some meetings.
Okay, perfect. All right, hopefully that works. All right. Okay, I'm going to do an outline here of exactly the process we went through to get the social scores calculated. Simply put, the benchmarks that we establish for our clients are founded upon historical performance. So if we're able to get a 0.5 percentage point of click-through rate in 2017, our goal for 2018 is to exceed that. Always comparing performance to ourselves, because there are a number of factors that we can't control that may be influencing that number upward, downward, what have you. So to ignore those, we only focus on the performance that we have ourselves. So step one was establishing the benchmark based on historical performance. Step 2, to determine how well or not so well we did relative to that benchmark, we needed to establish the variation that we were seeing within each of the different KPIs. In this case, we just calculated what you might think is a simple standard deviation, but there's a little bit of a twist in advertising that we had to incorporate. Not all ads are created the same. Not all ads receive the same funding. Not all ads receive the same number of what's called an impression, just somebody viewing the ad. So we had to come up with a way to calculate a standard deviation that was scaled by the number of impressions for each ad. After that, if you're familiar with the concept of a z-score, how many standard deviations are we away from that benchmark, from the average that we set? We're using the z-score as the foundation for establishing the score for each of our different metrics. That would be the observation score, and then we use an aggregation method in step 5 to look at performance across all metrics on a given platform. I've breezed over quite a bit there, but hopefully when we get to the Tableau, we can see a little bit more. This is a quick snapshot of some of the different measures that we've created. I think at this point it makes sense to jump over to the Tableau and take a look at those. Okay, so this is the overview that we just saw in the presentation. Most of this data has been masked. Hopefully all of it has been masked. So if you see something that hasn't, try to ignore it. Let's take a look at the Facebook tab for right now. So yeah, I have a generic post copy here. This is what we deliver to our clients regularly. We have each post, each optimization goal. We know it's the Facebook tag. We know the type of campaign it is. These ones at the top are brand advertising. We have, Matt has them for scrolling. Video views is an optimization goal. Click-through rate is an optimization goal. And you'll see from each of these that we do have a social score over here on the right. So each individual piece of creative, despite the fact that the data is at a daily level, we have it aggregated to whatever time period we're looking at. We have it filtered on the month for this particular view. It's the month of June. Thank you. Yeah, it says June at the top too. Okay. So where did we go from here? At first, we didn't have this column, the social score column. We were looking at something like, for reach, we'd be looking at the CPM column, and we had it highlighted in green and red, what's a good CPM, what's not. When I see $4.08 and it's in green, I know that's good. How good is it? I had no idea. So to combat that,
is CPM put per minute?
Cost per thousand. Sorry, thank you for asking. Cost per thousand impressions. Okay. It's a means of measuring how many people saw this ad and how much money did we spend for 1,000 people to see this ad. So it's an efficiency measure.
Okay.
Yeah. And it varies a lot depending on, so if you have an ad that Facebook deems unworthy to show to their users, it's going to cost you a lot to get in front of them. Whereas if you have a Facebook ad that Facebook believes that users are really going to love, they'll throw it out there a lot cheaper. So that's why we use it as an efficiency measure.
Yeah, if you didn't hear that, you're more efficient when you're more easily able to reach more consumers, and certain platforms can limit you from reaching those consumers. So it is a performance metric as well as an efficiency metric. Okay, so starting out, we didn't really have the context. We needed to understand how well things were performing, just if they were over or under benchmark. So I went over here to my dimensions list and I typed in score, just so I can filter through all of them. There are quite a few. And I started off with the score goal. Each one of the different metrics you'll see over here on the left has a different goal that added a little bit to the complexity of this, that it had to be done multiple times, depending on what the optimization was. But if we were to look here, you can see that the goal, sorry, it's not the right one. It's predefined. It's just a fixed number. It's one that we went back to 2017 and we said, how do we do? Let's add 5% to that. That's our goal. That will, you'll see, become our 5. From there, as I mentioned, we had to calculate a standard deviation. That 2 is fixed. That was done outside of Tableau. There may be a way to incorporate that into Tableau. In fact, there probably is. But at the time, I was under a deadline, and so I skipped that step and just put it in here. It's been a little bit. I know aggregate score, I believe, is next. So for a particular metric, in this case, click-through rate, CTR's click-through rate, to clarify. We have link clicks unionized, and there's a little bit of a dimension in the background going on. We have, in the data management process for this particular deliverable, we have all of our link clicks for different platforms labeled as something different. So to combat that, we have to define what a link click is across platforms and make it a single value. So every platform, Facebook, Pinterest, Instagram, Twitter, they all have a different link click. The link clicks union reflects whatever line item we're talking about, the link click for that platform. So link clicks over impressions is the calculation for click-through rate. It's just how many clicks did we get for each person who saw the ad. And to calculate the score, this is essentially a z-score. It's the observation that we have here is this first term, link clicks over impressions, minus the goal, divided by the standard deviation for that particular metric. Now here at the end is where it gets a little tricky. We have to scale everything. We even have to scale the score. So that at the end, if something has a 7, but it has 2 impressions, and something else has a 2 impressions, we're taking into account the fact that the thing that has 1 million impressions should probably be weighting our score down a little bit because we focused so much there. So to counteract that, we multiply everything by impressions because later on, once we've added up these aggregate scores, we'll be able to divide by the total impressions and actually get a scaled aggregate score. So that was clear. If not, feel free to ask me questions after. I'm going to use a cheat sheet for a second. Aggregate score selection. So once all the aggregate scores are calculated for every single line item, we have the aggregate score selection process go through and determine what the aggregate score is for an individual line item. This is just a way of getting the aggregate score for every single metric into the same column, and it's looking at the optimization goal for each line item, and then selecting the score that we just calculated. It's fairly straightforward. It looks fairly complex because it's long, but it's simple when you kind of get into the meat of the calculation. And then I have to cheat again because the process here is always forget. So this is what I was referring to previously. Once we've aggregated all of the scores for a particular view that we want to look at, we divide it by impressions. So previously we multiplied everything by impressions. When you think about a weighted average, you have to scale based on the number of impressions divided by the total impressions. And that's just the process for me to do that here. I multiply previously for each term that you have in your numerator, and then later, once I have them all added, I divide by the total that was in those multiplication factors, and you'll end up with a scale score. So once we have that, we need to actually get it into the scoring system. And without getting too in-depth, into how we ended up with these. We wanted to go 1 to 10, or 0 to 10. But because, those of you familiar with some statistical distributions, all these distributions ended up being log normal, which means that they're fat on the left and then they have a long tail on the right. And if you consider that a lot of these are bounded by 0 on one side, you can't go any lower than 0, that makes a lot of sense. A lot of times we're just going to be heavily weighted one way and then have some strong performers that trickle off to the right side fairly frequently. Sorry, your left and my right. So we ended up scaling our score system to be 5 at the benchmark, and 15 would be the highest score that you get. That compensates for the long tail and really helps us identify strong performers, things that really exceed the performance benchmark that we established. So this particular calculation just takes that manual raw score we saw previously and allocates a number based on where it falls relative to a standard deviation. These, the -1, the -0.75, et cetera, those are all Z-score values. So how many standard deviations we are from a particular benchmark. And that's simply how we get the number at the end. And we can do some pretty fun things with it. We started off with this simple view, just including it in the view to say something's a 7, something's a 12. In this case, something's a 2. It's falling well below benchmark for its particular optimization. This is video views, so it's well below what we expect it to be. That really helps us identify at a granular level, but then instead of having to wade through all of these individual tabs that have every single piece of creative, it might make more sense for us to focus on how things start at the top and then digging down to where the problems might be. And so created a different means of sort of exploring the data where we can start with the score you saw from the beginning. In June, we had a score of 7. If we add on the platform dimension so we can see how we're doing across platforms, nothing really is raising alarm bells just yet. But as we add more dimensions to this, the score continuously recalculating based on the scale of impressions and the performance for each metric that falls within each of these different dimensions. You can start to identify where we're having problems. Instagram video views are low. Pinterest click-through rate is low. Twitter as well. And it really helps us dig down further to understand where we should be focusing our efforts, or at least a lot of times dropping content. It's not doing anything for us, delete it, get rid of it. We can go as far as we need to. The ad name level, we can start to see exactly which ad names have the lowest performance and focus on eliminating those.
And yeah, just to recap kind of the impact that this has had on our business and what we do. Previously, we were only able to produce a social report once a month. It took way too many hours. It was in a presentation, which meant that we could only optimize once a month because we were so slow at having to pull all this data. And so what this report really was able to do for us is it makes it incredibly easy. We can pull all the individual platforms, drop it in, Tableau automatically unions everything for us. A score calculates and we know what's working and what's not. So speed to optimization has grown a ton. On top of that, it's just made the conversations a lot easier. As John was saying, oh, this benchmark is 0.004. Well, if you're doing business and where you're at agency, you're not going to remember that 0.4% is your CTR benchmark on this campaign, but maybe it's 0.5% on another campaign. You don't have to remember that anymore. It's a 5, it's performing. It's a 7, it's performing well. It's a 2, we didn't do something. It's very standardized and it becomes a lot more approachable, if you will, from an optimization perspective. So that's been hugely helpful as well. We can also trend Sigmarking over time as it's been live for 2 months, and also the score is starting to go down. Maybe we need to take it out and refresh it or just try something new. So it's really helped us a lot in making optimizations and improving performance a lot quicker than we previously were able to. Any questions?
Yeah. Hey, so are y'all doing this strictly for paid ads, or does this also work for organic?
We primarily focus on paid ads. To be quite honest, organic ads are great, but most people don't follow pages anymore. So just the magnitude of that is a lot smaller. So we typically focus on paid advertising.
Gotcha. Would this work for organic? Or would it be the same methodology? Okay.
Yes, yeah, you could, and honestly, you could pick whatever metric would work best for organic, fit it into the same system, and get a score.
That's thank you.
Yeah.
Are you using a tool to pull all the data together into one central repository, or?
Yeah, it's a really good question. With the release of Tableau Prep, I got pretty excited about the prospect for using this. Right now, it's a manual pull from each platform.
Right.
And then the way we have it set up in the background, which actually Zach is going to present soon, helped us with considerably. It's a little bit messier. I think with Tableau Prep, there's a lot of opportunity to really get it into a better spot for what it is.
Okay.
But right now, it's manual down.
Each one one of the
Yeah.
polls, yep,
Put it into a spreadsheet, all different tabs, and then Tableau does the rest.
right.
Yeah. Sure.
So the way you were doing that troubleshooting or further analysis, you're adding metrics or data elements, and then it would kind of tell you whether the score was going up or down for different metrics and all that stuff. Is that only, you can only do that right now in Tableau, or can you do that when you actually produce the Tableau dashboard? Because you kind of were in the edit mode when you did it.
Yeah, so right now, because our clients don't necessarily have, the name escapes me, we're sending it to them in essentially paper format. For us, when we're sitting here with the tool itself, we'll dig in as needed, depending on how things are performing or where things are performing or what we need to focus on. So I do it just like you saw. We don't send it to clients that way because they don't have Tableau server. We work only in the desktop version ourselves. They don't have licenses. So.
And the reason I asked is because I was thinking that it would probably be pretty nice if, like, on the actual final Tableau dashboard, you don't have to necessarily be a technician. You can just click and add a data element or something and watch the numbers jump out at you. You know.
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
Yeah.
For sure.
Parameters, yeah. Select
Yeah.
parameters.
Yeah.
Metrics you want to use.
That's a good suggestion. Thank you.
So I was looking at, when you were manipulating the data, when you were actually adding the data, is your manipulation done on the Tableau side as far as the desktop piece, and you're doing the expressions, or are you doing it on the back end of the server side, which is, your back end is going to be, is it Excel or is it like a database platform? Which one are we using?
All the calculations themselves are done in Tableau Desktop. We don't have Tableau Server. The proof of concept that I built was all built in Excel before I transferred everything to Tableau and calculations.
Okay.
The background, if you're asking about like the average and the standard deviation, those were all done in Excel, hard-coded into Tableau. Did I answer your question?
You did answer my question because your foundation, your data foundation is coming from Excel. So my question is, because the calculations are done in Excel, or you're doing them in expressions in Tableau?
In Tableau. The
Okay.
calculations. Yeah, when I pulled up the edits and you could see the formulas, those are all done there.
So you're finding yourself doing more optimization as far as, is it running slow, fast, or what is this?
Runs pretty quick because it doesn't have to go to a server to do any calculations because it's just the desktop version. So all the data is there, reads it, and
So one more question, where are you housing that, on your desktop, or are you housing it in a server? Because if it's on your desktop, it's just for you only.
yeah, no, technically it's on a server. This version is for me, but that's because I prepped it for this presentation. Yeah, we have it on a server for anybody to access and update as needed.
Good
And
question.
right now, it's just in Excel on the server. Our intention is to do more of a data structure
Yeah,
that's more flexible.
it would be more safer too.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. So when you drag in the ad names field into the dashboard,
Yeah.
I saw a lot of bars that were the same height,
Right, because they're the same score.
the same score, right? If you did not use the standardized score, the raw score itself, that will show a gradient, correct?
Absolutely.
So I'm wondering, maybe like at a high level, when you look at, like each channel, you see the standardized score, like sound 6 and everything, and if you click on, one of the low performing channels, when you see the individual ads themselves, if you show the raw score, then you can, see the difference between the ads too.
Yeah, you can see a little bit more. Sorry. Yeah, you'd see a little bit more differentiation there. You're spot on. I think the other tabs that we have where it is at an ad level one by one, you kind of get that, but it's not very visual to your point. I think having columns that can show you. This one, despite the fact that they're all bad, this one's a little bit better than that one or what have you. Yeah, it's a good call.
One last thing, I didn't bring my laptop. Is there any way I can, I know once I leave this building, I can't get to that location, right? You got it? Anyway, coworker got it.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, that's another question.
Hey,
Yeah.
sorry, just one more question for you. Are y'all connecting to some kind of API to pull social data in, or are you just adding a new Excel doc?
The latter. Some of our other tools, depending on the client, have connections to like the Facebook API, but for this particular situation, no, it's download from Facebook, throw into the Excel. There's our update for the month.
Gotcha.
Run this. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Anyone else? Okay. Thank you guys.